Hello, everyone. So this is Hina Janeja from the Tech Vision team of Frost & Sullivan. And I have about 13 years of experience in the ICT domain. And in Tech Vision, we closely watch the emerging technologies on both hardware and software side, such as AI, AR, VR, embedded systems, cybersecurity, telecom, quantum, you name it, and we track it. At TechVision, we track innovations, technology trends, draw insights on focused topics. Another interesting research that we do is picking top 50 technologies every year. Now, during this time of the year, the entire team gathers to brainstorm through a long list of technologies to find the top 50 transforming techs of the year. So, do follow us for more insights. Now, today we are going to talk about digital sovereignty, a topic that is of global importance right now. Control over data, infrastructure, and networks is something that each country is seeking and trying to develop frameworks around. As each country has to protect their national interest. So before we dive into, today's topic, I would like it pass over to Ankit to introduce himself and then Sammy. Over to you, Ankit.
Excellent. Thank you, Hina, and thank you, Julieta. And thanks, Sam. Excellent to be on this growth webinar with all of you. So, yeah, as for myself, Ankit Shukla, I am based out of London. I have been with Frost & Sullivan now for a little over 20 years. So, time flies by when you're enjoying what you're doing. And as an engineer by background, I love technology and innovation. So, that's where getting to know how something like digital sovereignty, right, is going to have an impact on different enterprises and industry players is, of course, something that I am quite keen to learn myself, along with what Hina and Sam have to say. So yeah, look forward to this, and hopefully we can keep your attention because attention is the main currency that we all operate on. So yeah, look forward to a great discussion. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you, Ankit. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. My name is also Shomadipra Chaudhary, but it's easier to call me Sam. I work with Frost in the Tech Vision ICT team. I have a total 15 years of experience, and predominantly I've been working on transformational technology and innovation. And today I'm really excited to talk about a particular topic which shows a journey from a globalization of technology to a destination towards more refined towards a country or a border specific sovereignty that is we're going to discuss. Look forward to this discussion. Back to you, Hina.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so today we are going to cover a few things. What digital sovereignty is, how does the concept look like, and how does it really influence, the global market? Then how it basically influences major participants, or what major participants, across the globe have the influence on digital sovereignty, and then how to adapt your approach according to digital sovereignty, what all we can do, or what next steps we can take. So starting with what is digital sovereignty. Now, digital sovereignty means having control over your entire digital ecosystem, not just your data, but the entire technology stacks that powers it. That includes your hardware, cloud platforms, software stack, data, security, and even networks. So all are operating in a way that aligns with your country's laws, values, and priorities. But sovereignty can be achieved at a country level, at a company level, and even at individual level. So considering all the elements, it's not just about one layer. It's about full digital value chain. Now the question arises: why is it important? Because in today's world, digital systems run everything, every sector, be it banking, defense, healthcare, government, or governance. It is important to combat geopolitical risk so that the global politics do not disrupt your digital backbone, a country's digital backbone. Then we also need to, reduce the dependency on hyperscalers. We need to ensure that we are not completely reliant on a few tech giants to run our country's critical systems. And then it is also important to gain agility and strategic control so that we can make fast digital decisions that can, serve our national priorities. And lastly, we need to ensure that our digital future stays stable, secure, and truly in our own hands. So another question is basically how to classify, the data or, the technology, largely the data, I would say. So what is, what is to hide and what should be available? These can be, done in three ways. One can be highly sensitive data, or we can say strategic data. This must remain sovereign because this will be either your either concern your national security, defense, uh, your citizen identities, or health records, and things like that. Then comes the regulated personal or sectoral data. Now, this can be conditionally sovereign, right? It can be, some cross-border transfers or things like that. Then comes the low risk or commercial data. Now, this can be globally distributed. There is no, security reasons assigned to it. So this is not really sensitive data. So not all data needs to be sovereign. Only the data that impacts strategic control and public trust needs to be taken care of. Another question or another point, that often comes to our mind is why suddenly this topic has become so important in the times of AI? Because AI has amplified the importance of digital sovereignty by moving digital sovereignty into the center of global policy. Now, why? Because control over data and AI infrastructure has become a necessity now, as sovereignty can define countries' entire economic power. After all, defense systems today run with technology, isn't it? So, sovereignty is about who controls the system that runs countries and governments as well. So, digital sovereignty helps to build trust and ensure responsible use.
So one of the things, Hina, I thought I'll just add over here, right, which is something that you picked on right now, which is why has this suddenly become extremely important, right? Because if you think about it, as a race, all of us are generating a huge amount of data on a day-to-day basis. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, all of us are generating a lot of data, and then put that together for country level data, it's just too much to sort of identify, right, as to how it's going to be appropriately kept. And the aspect of digital sovereignty, of course, in the era of AI, has picked up significant chatter at many forums, including the World Economic Forum in Davos that happened recently, as well as the AI, global summit that is taking place in India at the moment. So everywhere, the shift that is there is from what AI can do as hype to responsibility. And that's where the aspect of responsibility is closely linked to the importance with which digital sovereignty is rising. So I thought I'll add that at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. So from here, we will move to how digital sovereignty looks worldwide, or we can say is perceived worldwide. So countries don't agree with each other on how digital sovereignty should look like, is what we've observed so far. We are seeing new laws around data protection, AI governance, and cross-border data flows. They all have like a different perspective. Like if we talk about US, they have an unregulated surveillance model. They are largely market driven. They focus on innovation and relatively less regulated. Then comes China, which is altogether on the different side of the bar. They are a very strong state with strong control. Then so they are very surveillance heavy. They are tightly governed, they have a very tightly governed digital space. And China has its own laws regarding cybersecurity, data security, and personal data. And then comes EU, which is actually, and in terms of digital sovereignty, somewhere in the middle. But with us, besides, they focus on sovereignty, they focus on largely on individual rights and privacy. For example, GDPR, we are all aware of GDPR. It's a powerful data sovereignty tool. And if you want to do business in Europe, you will have to follow their data rules. Then comes the Southeast Asian countries. They are taking a very pragmatic and a balanced approach to digital sovereignty. They are trying to strengthen data protection laws. They are also investing in local data centers. And they're also partnering with global hyperscalers while avoiding any digital isolation. Because, again, they can't operate alone, right? And then comes India, which is setting a different example. It is positioning itself as a digital sovereignty leader through strong public digital infrastructure. We all know about, UPI and Aadhaar. So these are, an example of digital sovereignty. Then there are other digital governance laws in India and growing domestic cloud and AI capacity to reduce strategic dependence while, staying globally connected is another, strategic act that India is taking, uh, is acting on. So we are not seeing one global model. We are basically seeing competing digital philosophies here. And as we see where the challenge is, these different approaches bring tension, uh, as it is getting difficult to align national interests and even global collaboration. So an example here is like EU and US trade and technology council. They tried to bridge the difference, but then again, the alignment is not easy. And this is why this topic is of geopolitical concern now. We will have to balance independence with interdependence, where nations must decide how much control they want over data, over compute, and even deployment, while still be a part of global digital economy. Because definitely no one can operate solely. So moving on to the next part, Sam, would you like to talk about the slide here?
Yeah. Uh, Probably before I start with this slide, a little bit of my point of view as well. When I first thought about uh, how the digital sovereignty came in such high demand, then I thought about the what was the first instance. Back when I remember, like companies and organizations across the world, which are could be government organizations or private, or even some of the geographic countries or geographic region, they started to look for sovereignty in terms of data. So it was basically a data residency, right? Where is the data residing? uh, because the concern was whether the data is can be fiddled or accessed outside of a particular region or an organization. So we can actually think of sovereignty from three perspectives. One is from the perspective of data, one is from the perspective of operations, operational sovereignty, where you can be concerned about whether the operational part or the in a particular organization or in a country, whether the operations are crossing a particular border or not. And then there is also technology or technological sovereignty, where you are more concerned about the technology transaction, where you are using a particular platform, where a particular not only the data part but how the data is being used, how the particular logic is being defined, where was that defined, and whether those are actually pertaining to the norms of that particular region or not. These are all where the technology sovereignty came in place. And in digital sovereignty today, I think a lot of control or expectations are on this technological transformation, and how this transformation can be uh, operated in a particular way where it is looking into the sovereignty part. Now, sovereignty can operate in many layers in a particular tech stack. So here in this left side, you can see I've defined 5 core points or spaces. One is the cloud control planes. I'll explain each of them, but I just want to take you through each of them in a very brief manner. Like the cloud control plane is basically taking care of the cloud related transactions, including any kind of orchestration updates or service logic that has been defined in that particular cloud platform or cloud environment. Then there is data pipelines, which are basically how a data is stored, how it moves around in a particular uh, environment, how it is replicated, how it is processed. Those things are happening in this plane. Also, there is AI training and inferences, where the AI training it can be trained in a particular field or across generic field, but this training can also be used in a particular region. So there is a difference between training them and where it is being used. So there is also sovereignty in this part. And there is identity, security, and observability, where it is more related to a person who is accessing that their information, the security access of different individuals or users, and observability of those usages. This can be actually done in this space. And finally, the API and platform dependencies, because modern ecosystem, tech ecosystem always keeps itself open to plugging in with other tools and APIs, which widens the usage of that particular platform, right? So this is where it happens. Now, why am I showing these particular areas? These 5 spaces can actually sovereignty mean different across these 5 spaces. In cloud control plane, like I mentioned, that uh, how the orchestration and the update is happening, how the workloads are externally controlled. If that cloud environment is true to the sovereignty requirement, so that visibility is happens here in that particular plane. Similarly, in data pipeline, jurisdiction of the data, how the data is uh, mobile, as in moving around in a particular workflow. This can be also be implemented with a sovereignty around data. There is AI training and inferences. There is high interest, I think, coming here, because AI, which is trained in a particular region outside, let's say, in if it's trained in APAC and it is being used in, let's say, in North America, so there is a difference between the usage of the AI trained data and where it was trained. So the tuning or the training part, and then how the AI model is being used to fix a logic or given a weightage of a particular insight, how the updates are happening, how the updates are actually being tweaked into the model. Those things are actually controlled where it is being trained. So across these 5 planes, you can see the meaning of sovereignty can be different, and it has to be approached in a different, I would say, strategy across all these planes. But for this might not be important for every organization. Not all organizations might be interested in the identity and security part. They're more concerned about the data pipelines and cloud control planes. Whereas there are companies who might companies or even countries who are more concerned about the AI training and inferences and the API and platform dependencies which are there. So it depends on what kind of organization it is, what is the objective, and how deep into the technology ecosystem that company or the country uh, is invested in that. Even after looking at these 5 planes, on the right side you can see there are dependencies which are basically, I would say, applies to all five of these planes that I spoke about. One of it is the hyperscaler primitive. It basically means a core cloud service like compute, storage, networking, which is using the a particular cloud environment. It is deeply embedded into an enterprise. And even when workload are localized, I mean, there are underlying infrastructure logic that are defined or remains true to the source when it was created, right? That cannot be changed. So that dependency applies across all these five scales, sorry, planes, but it might not be in the equal manner. So that is what we have tried to show with the Harvey balls in terms of the weightage, or you know I would say the
Mm.
impact of these dependencies.
Yeah, Sam, it's quite interesting what you're showcasing over here because, for instance, someone like myself, right, who is probably slightly newer to the topic and trying to understand at an enterprise-wide level, right, what is data sovereignty meaning? What should I be aware of? What should I be looking at? This at least gives me that snapshot idea of, again, depending on the five planes or the type of entity I am, what is it that is going to hit me the most, right? Because clearly, for instance,
Yeah.
if I look at AI training versus inference, that seems to be the one which has the maximum impact across, right, with the a
Yes.
high potential, right, across those. Whereas if you look at cloud control panels, it's most important for hyperscaler primitives, whereas data pipeline and storage is for from a data gravity angle only. So there are elements to this which sort of someone can pick up quite easily, and then zoom in and then try to figure out their own so what for that matter. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So, all I wanted to show with the dependencies is basically, even if you are trying to achieve sovereignty in the five planes, there still will be these core, dependencies that you have to consider. Some of them you can see, like exposure to closed model ecosystem, because if a closed model system is already fine tuned, or it is being trained in a particular logic, you will still not be able to achieve the kind of sovereignty that you're looking for, because AI models are not made in such a manner. It will require a lot of, I would say, uh, it costs a lot, cost in terms of not just money but also effort, and I would say time as well. So yeah, money, time, and effort, right? These three things that you have to consider when you're trying to achieve that sort of sovereignty across these planes. Can we go to the next slide? Yes. So in technical terms, we have already discussed a bit on it, but I also wanted to shed some light on the, I would say, the business side of these things. Like when we look at a business or an organization or a university who are looking to implement the sovereignty, digital sovereignty across their tech stack, what are the impact? So when we think about those impact, I think the three core areas are innovation, cross-border collaboration, and competition, and how it affects when you're trying to achieve, I would say, uh, system-wide or a tech stack-wide sovereignty, right? So you can see the innovation, the kind of, I would say, the problems that will come are compliance, or local compliance will slow the experimentations, right? So the point of innovation is where you can interact with different ideas which might be coming across the border as well, right? So there are limitations the moment you're thinking about the AI governance or a particular innovation cycle. It will slow down because of these resistance, or a particular, I would say, strategy that you have in place, where you do not want to open the whole system or the tech stack to the outside the border, and sovereign AI stacks may raise entry barriers as well, like building localized AI infrastructure, compute, storage, then I would say governance layers, that requires a lot of capital investment as well as expertise. So that can increase the cost that I was talking about. So the cost of entry for not only uh, big, probably not for the big companies, but for the startups and the mid-sized companies to be able to come together to create something innovative. So that can be a problem in terms of innovation. Again, cross-border collaboration, where you see one of the biggest problem would be the fragmented data sets, because AI performance improves with, I would say, scale and diversity of data, right? So if you limit that, then you will not have the kind of data set that you require to address a particular problem or a particular objective that you may have. So data localization policies can limit that uh, capability of the AI, right, in terms of its performance as well. And restricting AI model sharing is another problem. Uh, you know, Diverging the regulations may restrict some sharing of trained models, weight as in weightage of when multiple data are fed into that system. The AI system needs to make a decision based on what is more important, what is less important, what is likely to be more accurate than the other. So this weightage is already defined, right? So if you restrict that to a particular region or a particular, I would say, organization also, so that limits its capability as well. And lastly, it's competition. I think capital rich players, companies who are able to afford that kind of cost and effort and talent, they will have an upper hand as compared to mid-sized companies or startups. And SMEs are likely to struggle in such an environment. So I
Mm.
think these are something that needs to be considered as well.
Yeah, so Sam, on this one, in fact, my thought is for both of you, you and Hina as well on this one, which is if you look at the let's give it a degree of risk, right, or impact for these three elements. In your opinion, if it was 19th of February 2029, 3 years from now, how would these three factors move, and are they going in the more if there was a 4 by 4 matrix, right, where these would evolve positive, negative, high, low, how do you think these will move in 3 years from now? What's your opinion?
See, the impact immediately, I would say, is on the innovation part,
Mm,
because this is where you explore, you understand to what degree you can use a particular tech stack. I'm not just talking about AI,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
talking about the other tech stacks as well. Right? There is mixed reality. There is a possibility of metaverse being important to some
Mm,
organizations. So, uh, considering all the different technology which are, uh, I feel, are going to transform the next 5 years, innovation is most important, because
mm, mm,
certain companies might have the expertise, or certain region might have the expertise in a field that the others won't. So that is where the innovation part will come in. And on the same side, as you understand, I said that another region, so cross border collaboration goes hand in hand with innovation as well, not just in
okay.
terms of implementation, but the innovation part also, right? Where you come and you try to achieve some sort of objective as a pilot. So that's where you
Mm,
innovate as well, right? And that gives you an edge to implement the next iteration better, or you can
mm,
scale it better as well. So definitely innovation, I would say, is the most important one. And
right.
cross-border collaboration goes hand in hand, especially for innovation, and definitely for development being next to that.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. Hina, your thoughts?
Yeah, in my opinion, I believe all three will increase over time. Okay, be it
Okay.
innovation or be it competition. Okay, innovation will increase, some new business models, new revenue models, will come up along with, technology enhancements as well. That will be the case. If you talk about cross-border collaboration, that will happen too, but it will start happening in pockets. Okay, so
Okay.
like, one country would only be comfortable to pair up with another country, okay, and might not be, ready to, align or, work with some other country. So it will happen in pockets, and that will also derive the competition. So again, those groups will try and compete amongst each other. So that's how I feel,
Absolutely.
the scenario would look like.
Look like, yeah, it's so well timed, this these three dimensions as well, to consider, because at least, and again, my personal view would be that the competition part of it is becoming quite cutthroat, if I put it mildly and politely, including the photo op that happened today at the India AI Summit, wherein everyone joined hands except for OpenAI and Anthropic head standing right next to each other. But they did not join hands. Everyone else did. So that just goes to show how deeply the competition is evolving and the direction in which it is evolving, which would then start to have impact on everything else that is connected around that, right? So it's a very important piece to keep an eye on, because that might drive, as much as we would love cross-border collaboration and between companies and countries, polarization is also one of the things that can amplify very, very quickly in this case. Yeah. All right. Back to you, Sam.
Yeah. So, to conclude this particular slide, I would like to say that the argument is not against sovereignty, but uh, we're trying to highlight the need for a calibrated implementation. Like, enterprise must decide where sovereignty creates a genuine, I would say, resilience, and where it introduces unnecessary friction. So you have to find that sweet spot where it does not create that sort of a problem in the long term. Yep. Uh, Hina, back to you.
Okay, so now we'll talk about, you know, uh, the role of big players. Talking about this, big tech companies are both the cause of sovereignty concerns and, a part of the solution as well. And on the enabling side, global firms are offering sovereign friendly services. Like all major cloud providers are now selling, sovereign cloud options, and specifically, to the regions like EU, Middle East, and Asia. Now, policymakers feel that, too much power has been given to, these few tech companies. So there's a limited choice in the tech market also, so no one can really help but, give power to them, as they are only, holding so much of data, because since they were the early players and, first movers, so a lot of countries have given away data to them. So now the question again arises, have we given too much control? So, yes, this is where, sovereignty conversations are really accelerating. Now, for this, companies are strategizing by building sovereign services or maybe by partnering with government to stay secure. Also, on the other hand, there are hurdles, that control remains in the hand of hyperscalers. And then again, the dependence of, many companies, uh, you know, uh, are on certain other companies for basically some technologies, because, they are not homegrown. Like Southeast Asian countries are dependent on the West, for some of the AI technology, or let's say the blockchain technology and things like that. So yes, that dependency is there. And then, there are companies like SAP or Reliance Jio, who are trying to, create their own solutions, create their own services, which can, which can help them keep their sovereignty, intact, and which will actually help in the long race of, this entire digital sovereignty conversation. Another point that I would like to touch on is, the leader's perspective. Besides, we see some quotes here, leaders, it, from their perspective, it is very important to understand how to combat this sovereignty situation. And what we noticed is, leaders believe that it is basically imperative for companies to, carve out some percentage of their IT budget to ensure digital sovereignty. As Sam also mentioned, there is a cost associated to it, and it will increase, the cost of doing business globally also. And the good part only in this entire situation is that, once it is defined, it will improve resilience, and of course, the ease will be there of doing businesses. um since sovereignty is not limited to data control, access to AI infrastructure are also uneven globally, and with only few countries and companies owing to the majority of the advanced AI, infrastructure, and countries seek lower dependence on foreign cloud and then AI, and in fact chips as well. So this is also raising the risk of widening digital divide. So while some leaders worry about cyber resilience and infrastructure protection at national level, some are carving out the right mixture of openness and control, and some feel that data is a national asset and must be protected and governed very carefully. And lastly, some also feel that the real challenge is protecting sovereignty without slowing technological growth. So that is also of utmost importance. So yeah, with this, I would like to hand it over to Sam again for the next section. So Sam.
Yeah, thank you. So here we just wanted to, highlight the, I would say, the trend that we are seeing currently, how digital sovereignty is being approached, and also what we feel is going to probably be trending in the next 1 or 2 years, how different companies will approach, or different universities and government organizations and nations as well will approach this, or has been approaching already. One of those are AI nationalism, where you are basically witnessing countries investing heavily in domestic models, in foundation models and AI ecosystem, or not just AI but other tech stack which are based out of that particular region or that particular country. Also, data localization worlds, like uh, how uh, a citizen or a national interest is being, I would say, safeguard with the data residing in that particular region only, or country. Then there is regional cloud silos, like sovereign clouds, where the infrastructure is located at that particular region or country as well, or a preferred country that that nation is friendly with as well. Then there are, I would say, diverging AI regulations, different compliance requirements across jurisdiction to create a complexity for global enterprises operating across different markets, so that preferred partners can be given a, I would say, a a preferential access to that particular market, or organization or group of organizations. So these are the approaches that are being currently taken, and probably going to continue being the, the key steps in the next 1 year, 2 years. Hard to say if it's going to be more than that, but the primary impact areas, like we earlier mentioned, are the reduced interoperability across systems. Because if the two systems which earlier used to create a digital common, right? When we say digital common, we're talking about how different technologies were able to interact with each other despite of not being from the same organization or same source ecosystem tech or tech stack, or even from the same country, right? So that interoperability will be heavily hindered. And then slower global collaboration around the scientific and innovation, like we mentioned, higher operational costs. So these are the problems, right? What we feel are the steps that are currently being taken. And we feel if unmanaged, this initiative can accidentally, fragment the digital common that we have created in the past few decades, in terms of in globalization, that how technology has been able to create a digital, I would say, connect with between all the different nations across the world and organizations of different kind and sectors as well. So the key risk is not sovereignty itself, but you know uncoordinated sovereignty. So that needs to be looked into when you're approaching sovereignty in a particular field or a particular nation as well. So the future depends on balancing this the national content or the operability, because if you only focus on the digital or national control over data, then interoperability might not be that much of a issue. Data is. So without the coordination, it can be risky to isolate the digital blocks that we were able to create, that easily plugs in place and create a amazing, I would say, collaborative tech stack across the world. So yeah, and I just wanted to bring your attention towards what is being done and what are the issues. And in the next slide, I'm going to talk about what we feel are the more realistic approach to achieve or even just think of sovereignty or digital sovereignty. So one of those are federated sovereignty models. So federated sovereignty model envisions distributed control across jurisdiction while maintaining the interoperability. Like I was mentioning, that interoperability is very important for tech stacks to be able to plug into other APIs, other platforms, and so right. And this can be, I think, achieved. One of the ways are shared governance uh, agreements, where how data is governed or how a particular process is governed can be shared and agreed upon across multiple nations and followed, right? Instead of a isolated national stack of technology, I would say regions can create that group of tech stacks that can be used across those particular uh, say preferred nations, and then it can be widened as more nations agree on those common points, right? Next is the interoperable compliance. So this compliance, when we seek regularity alignment or mutual recognition, like a particular nation might be more interested in the how data is being processed and stored, and the other country is more concerned about how AI models are being trained. What are the data sets that are being used to train that particular AI model. So these things can need to be interconnected. So interoperable compliance is where one will be able to plug into the other compliance and create a common uh, workplace where enterprises and countries and universities can work together and still be able to innovate and create that collaborative tech stack. uh, Again, like portable AI governance is where one particular governance can be carried over to another one, right? Depending on their readiness of tech stack, because a particular nation which is high on technology uh, might not have that much of dependence on uh, I would say low end technology or a mid range technology, which a new nation or a nation which is smaller and only getting started with digital technologies. So they should be able to create that portable AI governance, so that eventually they will be able to come in that space across cloud providers, geographies. They will be able to work with each other without worrying about the digital sovereignty. I would say the level or the degree of digital sovereignty the other nation will be able to attain to. And lastly, it's the global AI audit standards. So I think at one point of time, as we think about after 4 or 5 years, we again need to think from the global perspective where the AI or the machine language models are have been created across different nations, and likely to be different regions will have some AI model which is better than the other in a particular space. So everybody would should take advantage of those capabilities, and I think global AI audit standards will ensure that these AI models are catering to the common concerns and able to create that kind of a, I would say, standpoint where everybody can agree on working on that particular environment. So sovereignty must evolve from this rigid understanding or territorial control of tech stack and trust based coordination. So, yeah, that's what I feel. It's more like it's need based for the organization, trust based for the country or the region, and I think the digital common is very important for innovation. Back to you, Hina.
Thank you, Sam. So from here, we'll move to what should be our strategic way forward. So as we see, in this slide, digital sovereignty is not a single action. It's an entire spectrum. It ranges from strengthening internal capabilities to basically actively shaping the global collaboration. So now true sovereignty is achieved, when countries are balancing both. So from left side, we start with strengthening internal foundations, like, we can begin with protection. We can, have homegrown technologies or homegrown, network, homegrown frameworks. Then, we also need to have, talent. We have to have talent within the nation. We need not, bring talent from other nations. So that's another important aspect. Then we move to the middle section from here, where we talk about strategic data governance. Countries need a framework that, protects privacy and national security. And in fact, ethical AI, that's another important aspect. Uh, it will help you how AI is trained and deployed and governed. So, that's another, strategic point that we need to look at. And then from here, we move to, the global collaboration part. Now, digital sovereignty does not mean digital isolation. It means international cooperation. So companies and countries have to work together. So that's the main thing that we need to understand, that sovereignty is not about isolation. It's about smart independence and interdependence and, frameworks that let countries benefit from technology while safeguarding themselves. So from here, we will move, what is the call to action or what, can companies do? So, we have to build, sovereignty from ground up. We need to make sure, we have a strategic plan. We are, carving out regulatory frameworks for ourselves. Then, we have to, pick companies very carefully whom we are working with, where our data is going, who can read our data or who has access to our systems. Every aspect is very important. And then data classification. You have to bifurcate your data, what is important, what is not. And similarly, metadata management will also come into play with that. And lastly, the cross-border transfer restrictions. Of course, where your data is going, which country, it's taking a stop at, where it is being stored, everything needs to be planned ahead in time. And that's where, your sovereignty can be intact. Your entire strategy, will come into, play wherein, it acts effectively. The next one is the neo clouds. So, building basically the uh, next, you can say, uh, level of infrastructure or next gen infrastructure. Clouds, they can offer localized and compliant infrastructures, and that's a massive opportunity in the market demanding, data residency. Then AI and strategic compute independence can also create room for, uh, you can say, domestic AI infrastructure. Uh, and then, GPU focused cloud players. So that again, helps you bring back the computation, bring back the meaning to the data, to your own nation. And then, aligning digital sovereignty with economic growth means, building ecosystems. That's where new clouds do play a role. So be it startups or AI labs or sovereign cloud, partnerships have to be made. So clouds are not just, infrastructure providers. They actually, will help with national growth. Okay. And then building adoption readiness. Sam, would you like to touch on that one?
Yeah, sure. Uh, I think when we look at the other points where we spoke about new cloud and sovereignty by design, it might seem more from the supply side. We wanted to put a point from the demand side as well, as in the customer, the ones who are going to eventually adopt this into their tech stack. So we felt that there needs to be a readiness, right? So building that uh, adoption readiness is important, and we felt that some of these points might be where you start with digital sovereignty. Like, you have to evaluate your internal transparencies, how transparent your existing tech stack already is. It can be also the data flow, or how the data is being used. Those things you need to evaluate and understand. What are the dependencies, what are the things that are important for you, and consider the external motivations as well. If there is a regulation in place or new regulation coming that demands for the sovereignty, then obviously you need to consider that as well, right? And stuff like you know uh, a particular regulation, when it comes in, it 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 is also it also evolves over the time. So if you fixate on a particular uh, I would say area of the tech stack, be it data or cloud, it might be a requirement in the future to change the other ones as well. So it's very important to understand the regulation before actually, starting that change into that tech stack. So risk-based priorities needs to be sent in that way. That what are the risks that are associated for your organization or for your nation when you're doing that, and defining and redefining the governance for the data, for the processes, for the AI training and the inferences that are being used. It needs to be defined and redefined in the coming year, more so than maybe in the latest phase. It would be more stable, but that will be an important part as well. And educating the workforce to understand what and how digital sovereignty works across the different planes that I showed you. That is something is important as well, and they have to be enhanced with training and you know new learnings about how to approach these things in their field of work as well. And finally, I think self contingencies and self parallels. Like, if you have a system, or if you have a data set, a huge data set, you need to have that contingency in place, a parallel, you know, approach in place if that falters as well. So these things are important in the initial phase when it is being implemented. And with maturity, it might be easier, but for any company to adopt something like this, I think this is very important for the adoption readiness.
Yeah. Absolutely, Sam. I think those are good points. So, given in the interest of time, right? Clearly, what we are trying to convey over here is um, all the three different pillars that have been mentioned over here, right? We have gone on to support in varying degrees of ability to action them, right? Now, what we are suggesting here is from a scouting perspective or foresighting or scenario planning or be trend scouting, those are the ways in which typically we would translate our know-how into your so what individual entity by entity. So please feel free to mull over this. And clearly, what we anticipate is given the degree of complexity with which the space is evolving currently, um, it does merit a bit of a deep dive to understand, what this really means for you in the next 3 years to 5 years to 10 years, right? If you have to view it from that angle, I think that is the most prudent thing to evaluate in that sense. So, yeah, I think that's why we wanted to bring this at least to your notice and to your frame, and that way, you can make more sense of it at an organizational level as well.